you a business leader looking for next? I was. Are you an athlete transitioning to next? I wasn't. If you're looking for your next, this is the space for you. This is the Business Athlete Performance Lab. Hi, I'm Keith Bilous, and this is Live in the Lab. All right. A little bit of weirdness in front of the camera there for anybody who's watching. So I'm like, hey, where's the button? Where's the button? I can't get it going. How did you go viral on TikTok? You were on America's Got Talent. How much do you get paid to be on AGT? Oh, you didn't get paid. Keith and Steve here in Live in the Lab.
You're a great interviewer. I love it.
48 miles, 48 hours. And not just once. You ain't seen nothing yet. I hit 50 last time, and I'm like, yeah, things are a little different than they were 10 years ago. So trust me, things are to keep. You have no time for the BS that much of society seems to put on the table. Why is that? What you're talking about is real right now. There's just no bullshit here, but it's just real. We brought you in with some Marley. I said, Joseph, let's talk music for a second. You said, Keith, oldies, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've never talked to a sir before. Why are you a sir? In many ways, we're the same story. I came from nothing. You came from nothing. I think the old saying goes that if you want a trophy, you climb Everest. If you want respect, you climb K2. I've built an AI myself, and it's pretty fascinating when you can have a conversation with yourself with your own knowledge. Have you done that before? Why are we rushing to make these tools if all they're going to do is hurt humanity? Does the world need an Oppenheimer moment with AI?
What a fun show.
That's a familiar sound to anybody who's tuned in the past. Hey, I'm Keith Bilous. Bapl Nation. The Business Athlete Performance Lab. This is my opening track from my last podcast, the Business Athlete Podcast with AJ Zeglin. Thought I'd bring it out of the closet, dust it off, and maybe use it to open up today's show before we flip into this. Bah! What's going on here? We're ready to rock and roll on a Tuesday. I say all the time, this is a show. We're putting on a show for you guys. Not here to bore you. We're here to get you jacked up. Are you athletes looking for next? Are you business leaders looking for next? But you know what? You found the right place. You found myself. I'm your host. I'm Keith Bilous. I'm the business athlete. I was looking for next in my life. I was looking for next a few months ago before we started this show. And you know what? This show is now taken off. It's all you knew. You think you're a fan, but you're not. You're actually a Bapl. You are a business athlete. That's why you're here. That's why you're tuning in. And you're part of Bapl Nation, aspiring to join the League of Business Athletes. What do we do here? We help guys like you find next. And what are we doing today? I'm going to make some confessions. Yeah, I want to make some confessions. I want to make a confession. First of all, working on the old YouTube thumbnails. Check them out. Check the site out. Check out the YouTube channel. You're going to see the thumbnail improvement happen right in front of your eyes. It's true. Because right now, they're just the old standard thumbnail. One of the things you're going to learn here in the lab is you're going to watch a business grow right in front of your eyes. Yep, it's going to happen. I've said it right from the beginning. You're watching a journey unfold in front of you. It's in front of your eyes. We're in the club right now. The arena's over there. I can see it. Then we're going to make our way to the stadium, and I hope you'll join me for that ride. You're jumping in early. I'm getting the feedback from all of you, and I appreciate it. I'm getting the calls, I'm getting the texts, I'm getting the emails, I'm getting the LinkedIn messages. The X direct messages saying, hey, Keith, I love the show. I love what you're putting on out there. I love that you're talking to me. That's what you're saying to me. I'm like, yeah, because I was you before. Shit. Some days I still am. But my job is to help you get to next. We're going to do with music, tips, motivation, great guess. Oh, great guess. Did you say great guess? Yeah. Today, David Arsenault. Guy wakes up every single day, helps children. How about that for a purpose? Find physical literacy. Yeah, he helps them achieve their physical literacy. That's why the guy gets out of bed every single day. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a special human being. So David Arsenault's coming up here in a few minutes. He's over there in the green room, just across the room on the screen. I'm going to tell you something else that I've learned while building business right in front of your eyes. Not only are you going to see those YouTube thumbnails optimized, I built a GPT yesterday. You know that AI stuff we talk about here in the lab? I do. It's the nerd in me coming out. So I built myself a GPT, and I called it the Live in the Lab Show Assistant. What's it do? It optimizes all my stuff. We fed it our Bapl personas. What's a Bapl persona? It's you. It's you on the other side of this camera. It's you who's listening right now. You know who you are. That's why you're tuning in. That's why this content is made specifically for you. So we made this agent. And what does it do for me? It optimizes my YouTube content. Talk about a time saver. It went from hours of work to minutes. Now it's optimizing my thumbnails. What can the AI agent do next? What else can I share with you? What else can I share with you that I learned in the last week? Oh, I'll tell you something I learned in the last week. We had a big mess up. I had a big mess up. You know that episode last Friday we shot with Dale Weiss and JPVJ here right in the lab? Episode number 3, After the Buzzer with Dale Weiss, Life After the Game? Yeah, let me tell you what happened. Let me turn the music down to tell you what happened. Oh, you talk about heartbroken. I'm going to tell you, I need the music for the background there. So we record the show. It's going great. It's all in my earphones. I'm hearing it great. I'm looking at the audio levels. I'm seeing the audio levels great. Show's over. The guys leave the lab. I tune into the show. No audio. Yeah, you heard me. There was no audio. Yeah, you talk about a rookie mistake. You're like, what, Keith, you never done this before? Whoa. Yeah, exactly. We learned a lesson. What did we learn? We got to test. But hey, we created the lab for a reason. What do you do in a lab? You experiment. You attempt. And you're not afraid to fail. But I'll tell you, I was disappointed last Friday because this is no hobbycast. This is not a hobbycast. We're building a business for you guys to support you to hit your next. Today, tomorrow, next month, next year, and years beyond. That's why we're doing this show Monday to Friday, noon, Central Time, -6 GMT, to demonstrate and show you our commitment daily to being a business athlete. All right, enough rambling from me. We're going to move our attention to the guy on the screen. Joining us, I'm not sure if it's Quebec or Panama or where he's joining us from, but David Arsenault is going to join me live in the lab. Let's look over here. David.
Hey, Keith. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Actually, I'm here in Mexico with my wife. We're both entrepreneurs, and about 2 weeks ago, I was in Panama. Then I was back home in Quebec, where I call home, in Montreal. And now we're here for 2 weeks working as nomads.
The traveling nomad, David Arsenault, who's also, let's put this out there on the table for our audience. You're the founder and executive director of the Champions for Life Foundation. David, what is the Champions for Life Foundation? I know what it is, but I want the audience to hear what it is direct from you because I'm excited about it. Share with the audience what that is.
So it's a passion project of mine that has spurred from many different reasons, but basically it's a Canadian charity that helps children between the age of 4 and 12 years old to develop their physical literacy, and mostly in low socioeconomic schools and communities. But physical literacy is really about developing your movement competence, your confidence, your motivation, and your knowledge and understanding of movement to be active for life. So in a nutshell, that means that if you learn your vocabulary, if you learn your letters, then your words, and a certain vocabulary, then you could express yourself in this world through language, whether that's written, whether you're writing songs, whether you're writing plays and routes on the field. We need to express ourselves through language to be able to engage with others. And really, we use that language to express ourselves in many ways. It could be love, it could be instructional, technical information, or it could be simply just understanding what someone's trying to say to you so we can communicate and live in this amazing world together. The same thing goes for physical literacy. If you don't know how to catch a ball and throw and skip and jump and hop and do all these things, then your motivation and your understanding in certain environments to engage in those environments with other people is drastically limited. Before Champions for Life Foundation, I was a trainer, and I saw a lot of athletes present with a lot of fundamental movement skill inadequacy, or they're just focused on training for performance but don't have the basic movement skills. So I learned about physical literacy and I started applying it in my training, and then it just became a passion and mission, life mission for me through the various things I've done in my life.
David, we often talk about here in the lab that performance, rightly or wrongly, is often linked to winning something, right? You've won a championship, you've won an award, when in reality, and you started out your introduction to Champions for Life, in reality, performance is really about the journey along the entire way, isn't it?
100%. It is, you could have that carrot, you can have that big, hairy, audacious goal or dream. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. that's what pulls you in a certain direction. And you know that for myself, I was an athlete in Taekwondo. From a young age, I wanted to go to the Olympics. I discovered Taekwondo at the age of 14. And at the age of 16, I saw the national qualifier for the 88 Olympic Games. It was Taekwondo was a demonstration sport in Seoul at that time. And I said, that's where I want to go. So I got my black belt at 18 and I trained like mad to make the national team. I eventually made the national team, didn't go to the Olympics, but I did go to Pan Ams. I went to Worlds, I went to US Open, did a lot of national, international meets, and had an amazing journey. And that whole time I was gunning for national champion to go represent Canada nationally, and didn't hit the main target or the initial goal, but I have absolutely no regrets. All the people that I've met, the journey was amazing. And it led me to then share this experience that I had in terms of building myself up as an athlete to help other athletes develop. While I was an athlete, I had a Taekwondo school. I created a community within that environment of teaching Taekwondo. And I still have my Taekwondo school. It's been 32 years, and I still get to teach Taekwondo recreationally for 3 times a week. My son now is a black belt in teaching. I've been teaching people for decades. I've got a grandfather who's 70, who's teaching and who's in the class with his daughter who's 36, and her children are 9, 6, and 3 years old. So it's a blast. And these are things that as you're gunning for something, you don't know where your journey will take you. And it'll lead to all these amazing opportunities. And for me, it started with wanting to be a top athlete.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. While you say you're teaching physical literacy to children, mm-hmm. in many ways, what you're also teaching them is longevity.
Mm. Yes. The
foundation of longevity, isn't it, David? The foundation. Sorry to interrupt you, but the foundation of longevity, right? Because if you can learn how to be physical at 4, 5, 6, and 7, I think that you said that was your target, your age group of where you start the children. Mm-hmm. It's going to encourage them, you hope, to continue to be physical when they're 80 or 85, right? That long-term goal, right?
Yeah, your life is built on all your past experiences, and the toolbox that we have, everything that we've learned helps us move forward. And we realize what we have and what we can bring to the table and to the game, and to, by accumulating all these skills and this knowledge and this ability to be with others. So we are giving those children the skills to be active throughout their lifetime, but they've got to continue doing the work, obviously. And the reason we named it Champions for Life Foundation, champions has a double meaning. So when you're a champion, you're working hard to get to the top of the podium, to get to the top of your objectives, and regardless of all the challenges that you have along the way, a champion mindset is to do what you can to overcome those challenges and to break through. So you could say Olympic champion or national champion or provincial champion or regional champion or champion of there's many opportunities to be a champion in your life. And we hope that it's more of a mindset than the attainment of one single thing. So to have the champion mindset is one thing. The second meaning for champion is when you've built your strength and your knowledge and you're ready to give back, then you become a champion for other people. You become a champion for your community. So often we say that person is championing a cause, that person is championing a person or championing a community. So really we want to build champions so that they can become champions for themselves, but also champions for other people. And then for life means to live your best life for your entire lifespan. So packed into the title, there's two double meanings.
I knew that when we first met, whatever it was, a couple of weeks ago, for just a quick little check-in with each other, that you were a business athlete. When you explained to me the Champions for Life and your principles, David's drinking the water. He's already living the business athlete lifestyle. David, so you had a successful athletic career, an athletic journey, as we'll call it. And as my audience is retired athletes, business leaders, many retired athletes struggle with finding new purpose after or as their sports careers are ending. How did the Champions for Life Foundation, like, why? What? And there's a second part to that question. As you were achieving your dream of trying to, whether it be the Olympics or the Pan Am or hitting that ultimate pinnacle and then not achieving it, somewhere along the way, you had to make a mindful decision about where your identity was going to lie. And you chose Champions for Life. Where did the light go on and how did it go on? And talk about that process for the light to go on, that transition process, that identity process.
It's a long story, so I'm glad we have time. Because I don't think that you have to be present in every single moment in your life. And between being an athlete and now the founder of Champions for Life Foundation, there was another journey. It was called Pain Station. So I had a training studio where, because while I was an athlete, I went to Concordia University. I studied in exercise science. I became a kinesiologist and trainer. So I had a Taekwondo school. I trained Taekwondo, went to school, became a trainer, and near the end of my athletic career, started training some athletes. And I trained Kent Hughes, who is the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, was an agent before his current position with Canadiens. And I trained his stable of athletes that lived in my community in Montreal, the west part of Montreal. So I trained athletes like Vinny Lecavalier, Matt Lombardi, Louis Leblanc, a bunch of athletes that played local, played for the NHL, AHL, and so on and so forth. This was a summer gig for me. So from May till September, let's say, I got to train these awesome athletes and was able to take my knowledge and continue my journey as an athlete to impart my experience, my knowledge, my know-how, my skill in the training, as well as in the venture of what it means to be an athlete and how to negotiate that. And to see at different parts of the athlete journey, you're at the start of your athletic career, like many athletes were trying to get into the NHL or trying to make a college team. And others were nearing the end of their career and what are their next steps. So it's not a cut and dry. Everyone's at a different stage and levels. Through Pain Station, I was able to cut my teeth into building my own business, for one, having staff, running sessions and running a business. So this was completely foreign to me from just having been an athlete and been training people here and there. Now I had rent and insurance to pay for. And so this is a whole other journey. And the same mindset to succeed as an athlete can be applied in every aspect of your life. So I did that. And I had the good fortune, because I think when you're an athlete, you see yourself as a person who's extremely focused, dedicated, driven, and you don't want that to end. Sometimes it ends abruptly because of an injury. Sometimes it ends because your skills and energy is diminishing and you'd love to play or participate at that high level for a long time, but it may become untenable. And for me, as an amateur athlete, not making money per se in my sport, it had to be time to move on, have more of a career, think about my finances. The year that I was on the national team and went to Worlds and Pan Ams, I was getting married, started the Pain Station business, and it was almost like preparing the terrain to leap from being an athlete to the next stage. And that was a few years process. It was a thinking, it was a mindset. It was like, okay, I've got a great thing going here, but I need to think of the next step. I need to take these skills and be able to use this energy and bring it forward to the next thing. And that was Pain Station. And then while I was doing that, I had Pain Station for about 13 years. And it was an amazing extension of my athletic career, because I got to be physical and train with the athletes and show them how things were done. And so it allowed me to continue to be physical in that way and share my experience. But then it was looking at giving back. And there's always a few pivotal moments in your life that will transform the direction or change your course of life. And one of those for me was in 2006, my brother Mark died of cancer, and he'd struggled for 3 years. He was a great guy. So I have two older brothers. He was the middle, I'm the youngest, and about 5 years older. And I looked up to him. He was a great hockey player, great father. His kids were 8, 6, and 3 years old. And my kids were 3 and 2 at the time. And it was devastating. It was like, even at that point, I thought my brother and I would go into business together, because he paused his work and he was like, oh, let me see what you're doing. And we were working together. And I was like, oh, this would be amazing if we can work together. And so in losing my brother, I said, okay, I got to think of our family. I got to think of the kids. I got to think of, and I was thinking a lot about youth athlete programs and how do I give back to the community we grew up in. And we were so blessed by having parents that supported us in physical activity and offering us opportunities to play baseball, soccer, school sports, hockey, and so on and so forth. I started developing a program, and then I said, okay, through this program, I've registered a company. Let me register a nonprofit. And then that nonprofit operated within our community and built a center for the community that still is accessible and runs now. And I said, this is great. This is my exit strategy. I started training Matt Lombardi. Not that I was looking for an exit strategy, but I really attached myself to those athletes that I was training from the beginning. Matt Lombardi, before he got into the NHL, was my first and my last client, really. And when he retired, I was like, okay, this is perfect timing for me. I had prepared the stage for what was to be Champions for Life Foundation. So it was a nonprofit that with a clear mission. And at that point, I tapped into some entrepreneurs and some business operating systems and had been speaking more of a business mindset, but using that more in becoming a social enterprise or becoming a social entrepreneur, if you will. And because I'd had good success from the standpoint of a training studio and Taekwondo school. And for me, it was a question of now giving back.
So, David, you not only had a successful athletic career, as you were going through your transition, it was the loss of your brother, which sparked the impetus for clearly the next stage in your life. So now you have experience both as well, not only both, you have experience athletically, you have experience going through some family life trauma, the loss of your brother. Now you're having experience in business. So you're really set up, I think, to answer this question, which is what advice do you give to entrepreneurs or athletes who are looking to make a meaningful impact in their communities, with their business, or with themselves?
Absolutely. So I guess there's a few aspects to that. The first is don't do anything that is not within your wheelhouse and your skill set. So I've seen a lot of athletes that have finished their career and they're like, okay, I'm got all this free time now. And sometimes if you're a professional athlete, give yourself the time to retire and have
Transition. Got to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I need a button for this, actually. We have banned the word retirement and retire in the lab. We now call it transitioning.
Exactly.
So
that transition, it might be 6 months, it might be 2 years. So if you have time to plan your transition before you exit your whatever you're getting out of and mostly active in to get into something else, there is a transition time. And that lead time, you have to respect what that lead time is. If you're expecting to be full on entrepreneur and dive in, I had no clue what it meant to run a business and to have staff and to have payroll I had to really educate myself and have help from other people around me that are much better at me than this, but pitch a vision that I am passionate about, and two, that other people can get behind, or that I can contribute to a bigger vision. So respecting that transition time and prepping for it and doing things that you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about numbers and managing people, and if you are motivated by seeing a business grow and flourish, and you have a business administration degree and you love business and you want to sell widgets or you want to own franchises and do all those things, then great. But I've seen athletes that have gone into businesses just for the fact that, well, they're looking to park their money somewhere, they're looking to make some extra cash, or they're looking to eat up their time to do things that so that they don't look like they're just playing golf all year and they're on vacation. So it really depends on what your situation is. Of course, if you've made enough money to retire, and I'm just using that in that sense that you're not motivated to do anything at this time, and you just want to live a life of leisure, this is not the podcast for that. This is about really saying, I'm going to take what I have and I want to keep this going for as long as I can. And what I have is energy. I have the will and the grit, and I've got all these things that I've learned as an athlete to put into something that has meaning and value. So if that is tying into your community, or if it's generating a business that can make an impact in some shape or form. I don't think that anybody goes into making business just to make widgets for the sake of making widgets. You quickly realize that you have employees, you need to have a culture, you need to set a mission, that you need to have a vision. You need to, if you want to have any measure of success, this has to jive with everybody around you. You have to be able to balance this in your personal life, and you're back in the same game as just like when you were an athlete before. You're balancing your family, your friends, your social, whether it's the sport or your business, it comes out to about the same.
I like that you used the word balancing, because you went from being an athlete, pretty focused on, I'm going to think, one part of your life, to now a busy professional, like a lot of people listening to this.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned about balancing those career ambitions, personal life, professional life, the foundation? What have you learned?
So a balance is an illusion. The only reason we talk about balance is because we have a lack of balance. So if
Mm-hmm.
you imagine yourself standing on a slack line, you'll never stand perfectly still. You'll always be in motion. So it's not static balance that we're talking about. It's a dynamic balance. It's like we're falling forward, but we're running and we're keeping up with the pace. And if you
Mm-hmm.
want to go fast, then you got to be stronger. You got to be better balanced. You got to be, and things pass by fast. My advice is don't think that that balance is something that is going to be fixed. So it's not something that we aim for and then we want to keep that one static position. It's really about being able to coordinate everything that we do to keep moving forward, to keep putting one foot in front of the other and not let the train derail. And that means from a personal standpoint, from a business standpoint, from all your objectives and all the people that are on the boat with you or that you're on your journey with. So it doesn't make sense to cut your arm off to be able to keep running. Like you need that. You need all the pieces around you. And for athletes, I look at how does an athlete have success? Often it's you put the athlete at the center of a performance wheel. And normally you have a quarterback and it could be the head coach or it could be a manager but you'll have the head coach, you'll have the athletic therapist, you'll have the osteopath, you'll have the nutritionist, you'll have the position coach or the head coach. Then you'll have your friends, then you have your family, then you have your spouse. You have all this network around you. And this unit works as a team. And you'll need to rely on any one of those more or less at any part of that journey. So this balance that we're talking about is how do you build things around you and for other people as well to keep moving towards those directions that the direction that you want to bring your business in, that you want to bring your life in. And if you don't know where you're going, maybe it's a question of pausing. Maybe it's a question of doing some exercise. Maybe it's a question of reflection. Maybe it's just restating your purpose, your mission, where you want to go, and then align with the people and help you get in that direction.
There are a couple of themes emerging out of the lab as we talk to people like yourself, David, and you've mentioned two of them today. One of them is take the time to transition, accept that there's a process. Dale Weiss has talked about it. Dale's one of our colleagues here in the lab, and he has a show on Fridays called Life After the Buzzer, Life After the Game, and talks to guys like himself going, okay, the game's over, the team's over there, we're not invited in the dressing room anymore, and that battle, right? And how he's talked about transitioning from that. And then the second thing you talked about, David, which I really is that don't be afraid to use your athletic career, your influence in the community that you're going to go in and set up your business. That's what you're saying to me, isn't it? Isn't it? That, listen, you have been a recognized athlete. You have done something that people perhaps aspire to be or have looked up to. Now, when you're starting your business in your local community, don't be afraid of that. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
100%. Everything that I've built has been built on personal connections and then branching out from there. You can't just expect to show up and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. And obviously, if you're Peyton Manning and you decide to launch a deodorant, you'll get a lot of people looking, and that's clever marketing. But in terms of building a business and a sustainable business, it's built on the relationships. It's built on true grit and work to fulfill that mission. So your starting point is with people that you trust the most and that trust you. So the people that have seen you struggle and fight and build your career as an athlete are going to be the ones who understand you the most and will say, yeah, we'll get behind you because we know that through thick and thin, you'll show up, you'll do what it takes to get it done. And yeah, in those early days where I was working with my community, well, they knew me by being a kid in their sports programs earlier on, and then an athlete within the community. And when I come in and say, I'm doing something for this community because this is a community I grew up in, and look where I've gone, and look where I want to take it. So 100%, I think that you got to start with who you are and leverage everything that you've done, because it's not nothing. It's really something. There's not a lot of people. You're a professional in a sense, whether you're an amateur athlete or you're a person who's devoted themselves to one thing, like a sport or music or accounting or being a doctor, or you're focusing on one thing. You're not skipping from job to job and say, okay, I'll do one thing here and then maybe I'll try another thing there. And you've been dedicated for 10,000.
That in itself, right? That's the point, isn't it? Don't be afraid. Don't run from your identity, because when I'm investing in somebody, and clearly you're this, probably think the same way that I do, but when I'm investing in a business, I'm investing in the human running it. And if you have been a successful athlete who've put the hours in, like you just stated, clearly you're probably going to put those same hours into your business. David?
100%. I think that you can't, often as an athlete, I've been surprised at how much work running a business is. So, you've put in 10,000 hours plus in your passion, in your business. You spent over 10 years devoting yourself to your sport, your craft. And then you see yourself starting this new venture, and you come in with all this energy and you realize you're starting at the bottom of the ladder again. And I think that's a good place for us to be, because if you can park your ego for a second and say, okay, this is what I want. And it's the same way that I went and chased after my athletic dreams. I've got to put the work in to make this succeed. And again, it's not about the final score, the final result. It's about the journey. It's really about appreciating where you are, doing the best with what you have, and putting one foot in front of the other, getting knocked down, getting back up again, and being challenged. So one of the things that we try to do for our kids in our programs is help them create challenges for themselves that are not too hard, not too easy. And this is called the zone of proximal development. So if you throw yourself into a business meeting with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and Elon Musk, and they're going to be talking way over your head, right? Mm-hmm. But if you start by something clear, if you I'm talking about people who are at the beginning of the journey, explore, set yourself a goal, set yourself a challenge, put down a routine, a schedule, get some discipline behind what you're doing. Precisely like what you're doing, Keith, with your show. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's having such success, is because you're doing the work, you're being consistent. The same thing that it takes to be an athlete and be successful as an athlete is the same process for becoming an entrepreneur or business person or a business athlete. And there's no easy way. But again, if you go step by step, in French, there's a term called la zone de délicieuse incertitude, delicious uncertainty. So it's something that you're chasing. It's like that Olympic dream. It's like making the NHL team. It's like winning the Stanley Cup. It's winning your gold medal at whatever level you're at. If I'm saying I'm going to be the 100-meter fastest man in the world, there's no chance. There's no chance. And some people, they put goals like that for themselves right off the bat. And I think what I've realized is what my capacity is, what I can do towards building a business, what elements I would need, what kind of performance team I need to build around me. I need to have a mentor, consultants and people that are going to do accounting and are going to do all the skills that I can't do. We're all in the same team together, moving the mission forward. And that's the exciting part about being an entrepreneur. It is about putting this team together, being the visionary, the person who drives a vision. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily own that vision, because the vision can come from different course corrections can come from different staff members, and that's all good. But you're the one that is the glue that brings the team together. And it's, oh, did we cut out there for a second?
I think you're having a little bit of technical difficulties coming out of Mexico there, Mr. Arsenault. No, you're okay now. Keep talking.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
So I think that putting us together, okay, like putting it all together is the unique experience of the entrepreneur who is driving that main vision, mission, and getting all the pieces together to then move the project forward. And it's no easy task. It's a process like any other, and you got to realize where you are on that journey and enjoy the journey along the way.
Yeah, it is no easy task. And I'm pleased that you bring that up today, because as you heard in my opener, we're building this business and in this show in the public eye in front of everybody, and having failures and having attempts at success and trying along the way. But that's the point, right? Which is trying. And what has become really exciting over the last number of weeks is the team that is on board, all chasing this vision and this mission, right? And I've set the target, set it way over there. It's far. It's the stadium, as you heard me say. We're in the club right now. We're going to work our way to the stadium. But the team is also help guide that vision. I'll throw stuff out there and they'll come back to me and say, nah, really, Keith? Oh, yeah, okay. I was called out this morning. I shot our video clip this morning, and my little pre-video teaser that I shot, and I'll confess to the audience. So I'm using my iPhone as a notepad. And I wanted to make sure I had my notes correct for my little gig, and I don't have a teleprompter behind the camera. So I referred to my notes, and one of my teammates says, so do we think that's what that it was? Essentially, I'll paraphrase, which is everybody else is going to use a notepad. We're the 1% here in the lab. We don't use the notepad. Either memorize it or use the teleprompter so that the audience doesn't see that you haven't prepared. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I was prepared, but that really wasn't the point. It was that we're shooting to achieve better than just good. And it's funny doing this out in front of the public eye every single day. And it's also a challenge. It's a journey. It's a challenge. All those entrepreneurial things we talk about. David, you went from athletics to business. You went from structure of athletics. Did you go through a point in your transition or when you started your business and you're like, nah, I need to throw some structure out of my life for a while just so I can be free? Or did you just go from structure to structure because that's what you know for success?
Well, I think I carve in the freedom in my life. I started playing hockey for the first time in 25 years, about 4 years ago. And I threw myself into the deep end of a pool. I was playing with some of the guys that I'd originally trained. And I was a goaltender until the age of 12. So here I'm playing 3-on-3 as a player. And with these guys who are amazing. I try to keep my life relatively unstructured. I don't go on vacation and plan I'm going to do this and this and this. But generally, outside of work, I'm a pretty go with the flow kind of person. There's that balance again. I'm not structured in everything that I do. I've got a lovely wife and 2 kids that are 20 and 19 now. Right now I'm in Mexico, so I could be, I've set myself up so I can work remotely. So I do my workout in the morning, and then I'll swim at lunch, and then I'll work out again at the end of the day, or go biking to the beach. So there's plenty of room for creativity and kicking back, let's say, while still having a structure.
Mm-hmm. I've had some people come up to me in the last number of days out in public saying, hey, I'm liking the show, or geez, I'm going through this point in my life where my kids are moving out. They're 20, they're 19, they're 23, they're 19 or 18 or 20 and 20. And my wife and I are looking at each other. Okay, so now what? So you brought it up. Oh, yeah. Your children are 20 and 19. My audience is you, David. Talk about those challenges, talk about that transition, talk about that opportunity, talk about being, I'll use the word young again. Talk about that experience.
It's amazing. So my wife and I have been here for about a week, and our kids arrived by themselves the day after we arrived, spent 5 days here, and then went back home by themselves. So we didn't have to hold their hands to come to the airport. They're going home, they're driving, they're cooking, so that's a great success. If you can raise a child to be able to take care of themselves, travel by themselves, work, go to school, and be responsible for themselves, hats off to all of you out there. If they've survived, great. And so, yes, it does give a certain level of freedom. And for children to come back to you and to say, yeah, we want to come to Mexico with you guys. We want to spend some time with you. I think that's the true testament to being successful parents, right? And we hope that we have a strong relationship with them as they grow more into adulthood, and finally they're on their own payroll, they're off our payroll, and we want to continue. We want to continue
they're still on the
have,
payroll is what you're saying. They're still on the payroll.
Still on the payroll, but getting there. I think each stage, having young children, having babies, toddlers, to children in elementary school, and it's every stage requires different levels of engagement. And now we're seeing them being more independent, wanting to do things on their own, which is great, which allows us to have that renewed time to put into our businesses, more time to put into our relationship, and so on and so forth. So it's an exciting time for us.
You mentioned relationship, David. Have you found you and your wife reconnecting with the kids, spreading their wings and going, okay, so I guess it's time for us to maybe come back to each other a little more? Is that what happens?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we've been together for 32 years, and
Congratulations.
She's an entrepreneur. Oh, thank you. She's an entrepreneur. So we call ourselves we're like passing ships sometimes. So she's coming in, I'm going out, she's off to a conference somewhere and I'm at home, and vice versa. What's important is that when we are together, we do spend quality time together. Like we mentioned, I was in Panama because she was at a conference, and there was an opportunity for me to jump on board and to spend time there working remotely. So we do carve out our time as two busy people. But yes, definitely as the kids grow up and they're more out on their own, we're looking at each other and saying, oh, this is nice. The house is quiet. And we get to do things just for ourselves and go out or dinner and have a quiet evening. And so, yeah, it's at this stage, I'd say we're entering a different phase. So it's a transition, and it'll always be a transition. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations on that. That's thanks for sharing that with myself and the audience. You strike me as, let me back it up. In a world of AI, the value of a human has never been stronger, I would suggest to you. Yeah. You strike me as somebody who's a vulnerable and authentic human being, especially in your leadership, I would say. That's the impression that I get from you. What impact does that have on your professional life, your personal life, being vulnerable, being authentic, and truly being yourself, David Arsenault?
Wow, you really hit the bullseye on that one. So being vulnerable to me is a sign of strength. It's not something that I cherish per se, because I put myself in extremely difficult situations sometimes with my vulnerability, because ultimately I want the best outcome for everybody. And in my earlier years, it ended up being a pleaser, a yes man, a person that wanted to make everybody happy, which made me extremely stressed because I had to fulfill all these promises that I was making to everybody else, and not respecting always the boundaries to myself, to my capacity, if I promised something for somebody and that took a lot of time, it may have taken away from the family or may have taken away from another project. So I'd end up working a lot and sleep 4 hours a night and do that day after day. And I think when you're driven and you want success at all costs, which a lot of athletes are like, will do it to the point of breaking physically, mentally, emotionally. Like when you're racing Ferraris, these or Formula One cars or any kind of machine that you're driving, it's going to break down, and because you're driving it to the edge. So I think what I realized is my vulnerability in transparency and my ability to say it as it is was at one point a weakness of mine, a personal weakness of mine. For the benefit of other people, yes, but now it has to be more of a personal intention to say, okay, I'm only going to be able to do what I can do and follow through. So I've got to first respect myself in saying yes, in being vulnerable, and making sure that it doesn't cross the line of what I can do. And I can set boundaries mostly for myself and letting people in or giving too much of myself, because that's my default. I love to give, and usually I overextend myself. But I would say in the past few years, especially surrounding myself with key people that are very complementary to the work that I do, to the activities that I like to do, that I've been able to strike that balance in a better way, keep moving forward while not letting the vehicle fall apart. So I feel like you had a two-part question. So the one is the vulnerability. The second part,
just being authentic, which you clearly are, and how you've used that to your professional advantage.
Yeah, I think to my professional advantage, yes, but I think you've got to be authentic. A good friend of mine says, if you want to fly, you have to first love yourself, FLY. And it's very esoteric, but it's so true. And you start off by saying, with the challenges in AI, and is AI authentic? And if you enter in something in ChatGPT, you'll get this awesome looking text, but you got to fact check it. And does it have the integrity and your integrity? And for sure, if you're entering prompts and you're using a tool and you can produce a message that is clear and authentic to you, then that's great. But I think to put things in front of other people that are not transparent and are not authentic and are not who you are, then I think that you're playing a game to try to get something out of others that isn't authentic, that isn't. So my go-to is integrity. And in Taekwondo, we have 5 tenets. So the first, there's no order for any of the tenets. And it's like balance. The reason balance is because it's a challenge. We wouldn't be talking about balance if it wasn't a challenge. Integrity is being able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you are who you say you are. You don't lie to anybody. You present yourself as your true self, not as somebody else, the way I explain it to children is, if you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. You don't get apple juice or grape juice. Or if I squeeze myself, if what comes out is regret, if what comes out is jealousy, or what is the composition of my thoughts? So therefore, if I'm transparent and if I let my intentions known, then I don't need to be in conflict with myself when I'm working with people. My challenge is that not everybody's always transparent. Not everybody's always on the same wavelength. And that's okay. We can get to a place where there's a win. And I always talk about 3 wins. One is a win for you, a win for me, and a win for the audience. There's always a third benefit. Like, I love talking with you right now, Keith. I think we're both getting something from it. And hopefully the listeners are getting something from it as well. So to me, true integrity is respecting yourself and respecting the others that you're presenting yourself to for the benefit of each other and your environment and the people around you. And if you want me to go into the other tenets, simple perseverance, then courtesy, so being kind to others. Then there's self-control, so controlling your mind, your body, and your spirit, your emotions. And then the last one is indomitable spirit. In the face of great adversity, you broke your hand and you got to continue fighting, which happened to me before. You're afraid to go into a business meeting because you're not sure if you're going to make that deal happen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do in those circumstances? One, your fear. Two, that you and the people around you have the capacity to approach this fear, to break it down, to understand it, but also to make a strategy to say that, okay, I have the capacity to do this, and my friend can help me do that, or my partner will help me do this, and together we can tackle it. Then the third one is trying your best. That's all you can do. Just simply do your best. Get knocked down, get back up, try again. And then the last part is embrace the fact that we all have this indomitable spirit in us. It's not something that we don't innately possess. If I hold your head underwater like that, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to fight to get back up to the surface. That's indomitable spirit. You know. Now, if I'm the rock and I've got you in a headlock and I'm holding you down in the deep end, you're still going to have that fighting spirit inside you.
I'm going to show you my indomitable spirit right now. Watch this.
Let's see it.
So it's November, it's no month, and I have my peanut butter jar, which is my poison. It just gets in the way of all of my love, David. It's because I can eat it with everything. So I make a pledge every single year. It's no month. November is no month. I've picked something that and for me, the something's peanut butter, because peanut butter goes on everything. So if I don't have peanut butter, then it actually helps me be healthy in many ways around myself. I've had some fun with my guests for the month of November, and you're next up. I want to test your spirit, abdominal spirits.
Yeah.
What are you saying no to for the month of November? Putting you on the spot. What would you pledge right now? What's your poison, David Arsenault, that you're like, okay, I always go to be vulnerable with me, my friend. What would you put? What would you put aside for our audience for the month of November?
Oh my goodness. Okay, chocolate. I'm a chocolate-aholic. So
Yes,
if you're talking,
you and me both. But the problem is for me is that so when I put peanut butter aside, I always put chocolate aside because peanut butter and chocolate go so well. So it's easier for me to say no to chocolate without peanut butter. So no chocolate for David Arsenault?
I'm saying no chocolate, but I'm trying to think of something a little bit harder. Maybe saying sorry less. How many Canadian listeners do you have?
Yes. Yeah. You're just too damn polite, man. You're just too damn polite.
Just too polite.
Just too polite. Just too polite. Let's be polite and offer this up to the audience. Now, this is your time to talk about Champions for Life. Are there any questions or anything you want to plug to the audience, to our listeners, that you would like to make sure they know about, that I haven't asked you about or we haven't talked about?
Yeah. Amazing. One is, if you have kids and they're young kids, make sure that you expose them to all kinds of different activities. Early specialization in one sport doesn't guarantee success in the long run. And my advice as a parent, in helping my kids be active and seeing my kids be active now, and them choosing to be active in the ways that they want to be active in, is a very fine line between pushing them too much and encouraging them to be active. So as a parent, living the experience of having children and having a charity that's dedicated to helping people be active and children grow into active adults, make sure that the challenges that they put in front of themselves are their challenges, not your challenges. And if you're a professional tennis player and they love tennis and and they're lapping it up, then you provide the opportunities for them to be self-guided in their journey. Sometimes there's a positive push. We need to introduce them to different things, but again, let's not put our dreams and aspirations on our children. Let's put the conditions on which they can succeed in life so that they themselves will make the choice. We don't tell kids when they go into school that you're going to be a doctor, or most kids. There's those families that have 4 generations of doctors and in their family, and they're just wired that way. And That's like saying, will Sidney Crosby, if he has a child and a boy or a girl,
Mhm.
will they go to the Olympics? Will they play in the NHL? Who knows? Chances are not likely. If you look at Mario Lemieux's kids and Wayne Gretzky's kids, and they might be involved in the, that's deterring from the Champions for Life. It's more as a parent, make sure that you expose your children to lots of different activities, sports, music. Keep them interested, and they'll make their choices. And if you support them throughout their lives, love them, teach them to first love themselves, then you'll raise healthy and happy kids. Champions for Life is about helping children who don't have the means and the resources, particularly that don't have two stable parents at home necessarily to help raise them, that don't have the means to sign them up for these multi-sport or sport programs or other types of programs. These kids are dropped off at school at 7 a.m. and picked up at the end of the day at 6, and they're brought home maybe by a single mom or parents that are both working, and it's food, go to bed, and there's not a lot of time for other things. If you want to support our charity, we've got a campaign going on this month. It's called Move for a Cause, and there's a website, moveforacause.ca, and people are moving throughout the month of November to raise money for the Champions for Life Foundation, and they're doing it through creating awareness by moving themselves, and pick a challenge of moving 15, 30, 60 minutes a day, and then picking a fundraising goal of $100, $300, whatever the amount, and promoting the foundation and its mission, and promoting the fact that they're being active and their activity is going to help support the programs that the Champions for Life Foundation delivers. We've got 4 main programs. One is a 20-week after-school program where children receive physical literacy activities once a week for 20 weeks, and they receive skill cards and movement maps and a certificate at the end, and lots of fun. Then there's a physical education teacher resources that for phys ed teachers that want to use some amazing elements from our program will be able to incorporate it in their phys ed class, including evaluations and assessments. The third is Little Champions program, which is interactive stories for the kindergarten classroom, where through storytelling, we have children reenacting the skills that the characters in the stories do. So it could be catching or jumping or throwing or hopping, whatever skills. They do this in the classroom, so it's a way to get the younger ones to start developing their movement skills and tie that to other curriculum outcomes like math and reading and so on. And then the last one is a grade 5-6 program called Recess Champions, which is about creating leaders and developing leadership skills so that the older children can run some fun recess activities with the younger ones, teaching them how to move and getting them to play together and learn to socialize together and play fair while developing their leadership skills. So we've got 4 solid programs that meets the needs of the elementary schools and is complementary to helping teachers and the people at schools to help these children be active, play well together, develop themselves as active individuals throughout their life. And any way that anybody wants to support the foundation, whether you want to get involved and volunteer, or whether you have a company and you'd like to look at maybe a potential sponsorship opportunity, or you want to do a fundraiser yourself. I often do talks at companies there. I do a breakthroughs workshop where each participant breaks a piece of wood, and I talk about my mission and my journey and how I came to doing the work that I do, and hopefully using that as inspiration for other people to break through their own challenges. And you can check us out at championsforlife.ca. So that's a champions with an S, FORLIFE.ca.
David Arsenault, thank you for joining me live in the lab today.
Amazing, Keith. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. I'm going to throw you into the green room for a second, say goodbye to the audience, and come back to you in just a second here. We're going to go.
Bye, folks.
Awesome. We're going to go this. And we're going to go like this. And then we're going to do maybe this. Oh, there we go. Let's go to that camera. Bang. Hope you enjoyed today's show with David Arsenault. Champions for Life. If you want to get involved, some philanthropy, that's the word, philanthropy. Didn't know if I was going to get it out of my mouth. Go check him out, championsforlife.ca. David Arsenault, what a great journey. Great learnings today. I hope you guys gathered some of those learnings today like I did. You know, if you're a business guy, athletic guy, looking to next, you'll get some learnings out of today's episode. All right, we went into double overtime today, and I'm going to walk my way out of the door here before I say goodbye to Mr. Arsenault. I invite you to join me tomorrow live in the lab, noon Central Time, -6 GMT. We do it right here on LinkedIn. We do it here on X, and we do it here on YouTube every single day. Why? Because it's a commitment to you. I'm Keith Bilous, head of Bapl Nation. We'll see you tomorrow.